Meet Sarah and Marcus. They both work in tech. Same company, same department, same salary bracket. $48,000 a month. That's what most people would call financial success. Sarah's apartment is a shrine to possibility. Her closet spans an entire wall, shoes organized by color and season, clothes with tags still attached from 3 months ago. Her living room features a sectional that cost more than her first car. Above it hangs art she bought at an auction because the gallery owner said it was a smart investment. Her kitchen has every gadget known to mankind, a pasta maker she used once, a cold brew system gathering dust, a sous vide machine that seemed revolutionary when she bought it. Her spare bedroom is rented out on Airbnb, but it's filled with her overflow storage, boxes of things she's keeping for some future version of herself that never quite materializes. When Sarah checks her bank account, she feels a familiar tightness in her chest. Despite the income, despite the promotions, despite the salary increases, there's never enough left over. She's one unexpected emergency away from panic. She carries credit card debt, not because she's irresponsible, but because the lifestyle she's built demands constant feeding. Marcus lives 3 blocks away. Same neighborhood, same company, same paycheck. His apartment is different. Not sparse, not cold, just intentional. His couch is simple, well-made, bought used from someone who was moving. His kitchen has the tools he actually uses: a good knife, a cast iron pan, a coffee grinder, nothing more. His closet holds maybe 15 pieces of clothing. All of them work together, all of them get worn. His walls are mostly bare except for one photograph his grandmother took. His spare bedroom is an actual spare bedroom. When his parents visit, they have somewhere to sleep. When Marcus checks his bank account, he feels something different: calm. He has 8 months of expenses saved in cash. He invests aggressively. He's not wealthy by conventional standards, but he has something Sarah doesn't. He has options. He could walk away from his job tomorrow if he needed to. He could take a sabbatical. He could take a pay cut to do work he actually cares about. He has freedom. Here's the thing nobody talks about. The difference between these two people isn't income, it's not intelligence, it's not luck. It's a fundamental misunderstanding about what ownership actually costs. Most people think about purchase price. That's the only number they see. But there's a second price tag on everything you own, and it's often invisible until it's too late. Let me break this down for you. When you buy something, you're not just paying the sticker price. You're entering into a long-term financial relationship with that object. You're paying for the space it occupies. In most cities, commercial real estate costs between $40 and $60 per square foot annually. Your home is no different. That expensive furniture you bought takes up space. That space has a cost. Calculate it. A dining table that occupies 30 square feet costs you between $1,200 and $1,800 per year just in implicit rent. But space is only the beginning. You're also paying for maintenance. That leather sofa needs conditioning. That expensive watch needs servicing. That designer handbag needs professional cleaning. That car in your driveway needs oil changes, tire rotations, inspections, insurance. These costs compound. They're not one-time expenses. They're recurring drains on your financial life. Then there's the psychological cost. Every object you own occupies mental real estate. It needs to be organized. It needs to be protected. It needs to be worried about. You've probably heard about decision fatigue. The more choices you have, the more mental energy you expend. Your possessions are choices. Every item in your home is a tiny decision you have to manage. Scientists have measured this. Visual clutter literally increases your cortisol levels. Your stress hormones spike when you're surrounded by too many things. Your stuff is making you anxious in ways you don't even realize. But here's the killer: the opportunity cost. Every dollar you spend on something is a dollar you're not investing. Let's do the math. Sarah spent $12,000 on furniture last year. Marcus, $0. If Sarah had invested that money instead, at an average market return of 8% annually, in 30 years, that $12,000 would become $138,000. That's not just about the furniture. That's about the compounding effect of money you could have had working for you instead of working against you. Now, multiply that across every purchase Sarah makes. The expensive coffee habit, the subscription services she forgets about, the clothes she buys but never wears, the experiences she buys to feel like she's living a full life, but that actually just drain her bank account. The cumulative opportunity cost is staggering. This is why minimalism isn't about deprivation, it's about mathematics. It's about understanding that most things you think you need are actually financial liabilities masquerading as assets. So, how do you break free from this trap? The first principle is radical honesty about utility. Before you buy anything, you need to ask yourself a specific question. How many times will I actually use this? Not how many times I could use it, not how many times I think I should use it, how many times will I realistically use it? Then divide the price by that number. That's your true cost per use. A $300 blender you'll use maybe twice a month comes out to $50 per use in the first year. That's absurd. A $30 wooden spoon you use 5 times a week comes out to about 1 cent per use. The math is brutal and honest. It cuts through marketing, it cuts through the story you tell yourself about who you want to be, it reveals what actually makes financial sense. Most people fail at this because they're not honest about their own behavior. They buy a gym membership imagining they'll go 5 times a week. They buy a bread maker imagining they'll bake every weekend. They buy a meditation cushion imagining they'll finally develop a practice. But they won't. You know this about yourself. Deep down, you know. The question is whether you're willing to admit it before you spend the money or after. The second principle is what I call the displacement test. Walk through your home right now. Pick up any object. Ask yourself this: if this disappeared tomorrow, would I buy it again? Be brutally honest. Would you actually go out and purchase another throw pillow, another set of decorative plates, another pair of shoes you haven't worn in 2 years? For most items in most homes, the answer is no. These things exist through inertia, not intention. They're ghosts of past versions of yourself. They're gifts you felt obligated to keep. They're impulse purchases you've forgotten about. These items have negative value. They're costing you space, mental energy, and maintenance for zero benefit. They're financial anchors dragging you down. Minimalists understand this. They're ruthless about removing things that fail the displacement test. They sell them, they donate them, they throw them away. And here's what happens next. They feel lighter, not metaphorically, literally. Their homes feel bigger, their minds feel clearer, their decision-making improves, their stress levels drop. The fourth principle is architectural. You can't rely on willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. It depletes throughout the day. It fails when you're tired, stressed, or emotional. Instead, you need to design your environment to make good choices automatic. Remove your saved credit card information from every online retailer. Delete the shopping apps from your phone. Unsubscribe from every marketing email. Implement a rule that you cannot make any non-essential purchase for 48 hours. Most impulse purchases die within 2 days. The desire fades, the rational mind reasserts itself. But if you make it easy to buy, you'll buy. If you make it hard to buy, you won't. Simultaneously, make saving automatic. Set up automatic transfers to investment accounts on payday. Make the contribution happen before you ever see the money. Treat savings like a bill you have to pay, not an afterthought. When saving is the path of least resistance, you'll save. The fifth principle is measurement. What gets measured gets managed. Start counting your possessions in specific categories. How many shirts do you own? How many kitchen gadgets? How many books? The numbers are usually shocking. Most people own 3 or 4 times more than they think they do. And here's what's interesting. Once you know the number, buying another becomes a different decision. You're not adding a shirt. You're bringing your collection to 49. The absurdity becomes visible. Set maximum thresholds for each category. Maybe 30 pieces of clothing. Maybe 15 books. Maybe a strict one-in, one-out policy, where any new purchase requires removing something existing. These constraints prevent the slow creep of accumulation. Without limits, possessions expand to fill available space. With limits, each addition requires intention. The sixth principle is testing before committing. Most purchases are based on fantasy. You imagine yourself using something far more than you actually will. You imagine yourself being someone you're not. The solution is to rent or borrow before you buy. Want to get into photography? Rent a camera for a weekend. Want to try rock climbing? Borrow gear from a friend or use a gym. Want to experiment with woodworking? Use a makerspace. This accomplishes two things. First, it reveals whether your enthusiasm is genuine or temporary. Many interests fade after the initial exploration. Better to discover this while renting than after purchasing equipment that collects dust for years. Second, it teaches you what you actually need. First-time campers often buy too much or buy the wrong things. Renting lets you learn before committing to ownership. Walk through any neighborhood and you'll see evidence of this failure. Garages filled with ski equipment from people who went skiing twice. Closets packed with photography gear from people who took a few photos and stopped. Basements containing musical instruments from bands that played 2 shows. These are museums of abandoned enthusiasm. Minimalists avoid this trap by testing interests before investing money in them. The seventh principle is defining enough before you start earning. This is the trap that catches high earners. They never define what enough looks like, so they keep purchasing more without ever arriving at satisfaction. Their income increases, so they upgrade their lifestyle. The new lifestyle becomes normal, so they need another income increase to feel progress. This cycle continues indefinitely. People earning $500,000 feel just as financially stressed as people earning $80,000 because their expectations expanded alongside their income. Break this cycle by defining enough in advance. Decide what kind of home is sufficient. Decide what kind of car meets your needs. Decide what level of material comfort constitutes genuine satisfaction. Write it down. Then earn toward that target instead of constantly moving the goalpost. The person who defined enough at $50,000 of annual spending and then started earning $150,000 builds wealth at an extraordinary rate. The $100,000 difference between income and enough goes directly to financial freedom. Meanwhile, someone earning the same amount but constantly redefining enough upward might save almost nothing. The eighth principle is understanding what wealth actually means. Conventional wisdom says wealth is what you have: houses, cars, possessions, visible markers of success. But minimalists measure wealth differently. They measure it by optionality, by what they can choose. Can you leave a job that's destroying your mental health? Can you take 3 months off to write a book, or travel, or care for a family member? Can you move to a different city for a relationship? Can you start a business without guaranteed income? Can you retire at 50? Can you say no to opportunities that pay well but compromise your values? These options represent true wealth. They're only available to people who've built substantial margin between their income and their expenses. The person earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost no optionality. They're chained to their income requirement. The person earning $80,000 but spending $45,000 has extraordinary optionality. They can absorb disruptions. They can take risks. They can make choices based on preference rather than financial necessity. Every purchase you make is a trade. You're trading future freedom for present consumption. The question isn't whether you can afford it. The question is whether it's worth a piece of your freedom. Here's what most people don't understand about the psychology of minimalism. The relationship between stuff and money is bidirectional. Owning less creates more money, but having more money also makes owning less feel natural. When your savings account is robust and your investments are growing, the urge to accumulate diminishes. The psychological need that drives most consumption gets satisfied by financial strength instead of physical possessions. You don't need the stuff to feel successful because your bank account already tells you the story you want to hear. This creates a virtuous cycle. Spending less leads to saving more. Saving more creates security. Security reduces the emotional drive to spend. Reduced spending accelerates saving further. Each turn reinforces the next. You build momentum. You build freedom. The opposite cycle is equally powerful, but destructive. Spending everything creates insecurity. Insecurity drives more spending as temporary emotional relief. More spending deepens insecurity. The cycle continues until some external shock forces a breaking point. A job loss, a medical emergency, a divorce. Then everything collapses. The choice between these two cycles determine your financial trajectory more than income ever could. High earners trapped in the destructive cycle build nothing. Modest earners riding the virtuous cycle build everything. So here's what I want you to do. Not next week, not after you finished watching this, today. Walk through your home. Find 10 items that fail the displacement test. 10 things you would not buy again if they disappeared. Sell them, donate them, throw them away. Notice how it feels. That lightness is the beginning of your freedom. This month, implement the 48-hour rule. Before any non-essential purchase, wait 2 days. Track how many desires survive the waiting period. The data will shock you. Most don't. Most fade. Most were never real wants. They were just impulses. This quarter, count your possessions in 3 categories: clothing, kitchen items, entertainment. Set a maximum threshold for each based on what you actually use. Write it down. Refer to it when temptation arises. The financial transformation from these practices compounds over time. Someone who applies these principles consistently for 5 years accumulates substantially less while saving substantially more. The gap between their lifestyle and their income creates wealth that cannot be built any other way. Sarah and Marcus work at the same place. They earn the same amount, but their financial futures are completely different. Sarah is trapped in a cycle of consumption that requires her to work harder just to maintain her lifestyle. Marcus is building freedom. He's building optionality. He's building the ability to make choices based on what matters to him, not based on financial necessity. The choice is yours. Do you want to own your possessions, or do you want your possessions to own you? The mathematics are clear. The freedom is real. The only question is whether you're willing to see it.